Hi, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. This video marks the beginning of the next sort of phase, really, in the analysis into Nietzsche's will to power. I ended with, I think it was video 161, asking for viewer contributions for what I was titling A Defense of Christianity. In note 170, Nietzsche lays out a rather blistering attack on some of the fundamental concepts within Christianity, and I asked a community of viewers to defend Christianity against these 6 attacks that Nietzsche posed. Unfortunately, I didn't get any viewer response from members within the Christian community to defend their religious belief, and that's not to say that Christians aren't watching my videos. I'm sure that they are. I would hope that they are. There could be any number of reasons. As I said, I'm not going to do a defense of Christianity lecture, so now that no one has done a defense of Christianity, I will continue my analysis into Nietzsche's will to power. 2 points. One, I want to talk specifically about one aspect of a critique that Nietzsche posed in note 170, and then I'll talk about this sort of second phase of Nietzsche's will to power, at least in how I'm going to present the information. The first thing to recognize is, for me, one of the most imposing attacks that Nietzsche launches in note 170 was that of the misconception of personal immortality. That within the Christian tradition, there is this belief and this assumption that it is my personal biological immortality that is at stake in the act of salvation. That my personal biological being is going to be resurrected, and physically, biologically, consciously, I'm going to live forever. I actually had a really good, and I guess I still am having a really good discussion on the idea of transhumanity in Nietzsche, this idea of transhumanity in Nietzsche, on my Facebook with both James and Brad, 2 of my virtual friends. And we're going back and forth on the idea of immortality. What Nietzsche is saying, and what I would say, and what the transhumanists would say, is that the idea of personal biological immortality is not what is of any importance. It is not whether or not Jason Campbell, as a biological organism, is going to be immortal. It's not even a question on my desire to want to attain personal biological immortality. The way that you transcend this life is by doing something significant in this life. This lecture series transcends me. It's bigger than I am. I am the origin, I am the root, I am the cause of this sort of contribution, right? This resource. But this resource has been and will continue to be much larger than I am, right? This resource is preserved in time for others to consume at their leisure. This is automatically larger than I am. When we read Nietzsche, Nietzsche's been dead for a while. He's been dead for a century, right? Nietzsche transcended himself insofar as he left all of this behind. He left a legacy for others, right? And as corny and as cliche and as sort of obvious as it sounds, it's really one of the hardest concepts for people to understand, right? My attainment, my pursuit of immortality is not, I'm talking about myself now, my pursuit for immortality isn't a biological pursuit for immortality. It is a recognition that I am the source, I am the contributing factor into resources, into a transformation, a shift in interpretation, and this is going to be greater than I am, right? So what's important is not Jason Campbell, the academic, Jason Campbell, the father or the husband or the brother. That guy's not he's totally insignificant. What's of significance is the product of my labor, the product of my work. This lecture series is significant, right? It's more significant than I am, right? But then you see sort of the interconnection between the two. So that's just a quick tangent. the biggest I think critique Nietzsche posed was the sort of blistering critique of a misunderstanding, a complete failure to understand the notion of immortality as confused as personal biological immortality, and we didn't have any response to that. So I will end that bit in defense of Nietzsche. What is phase two? What we're going to see is the next shift, right? Again, I could have chosen any of Nietzsche's texts, and I've read, I'd say about 90% of everything that he's written, right? I've read all of his texts, and some of them I haven't read all of them, but I've read like 95% of the text. So I know Nietzsche rather well. I know his work rather well. The reason why I chose to do Will to Power is, as I've said before, Will to Power is bits and pieces. It's a mix and match, right? In all practical purposes, there's really no need for me to go in sort of sequential order in the presentation of his notes. I could, put things together. I think what's really interesting from a pedagogical standpoint, and really difficult also, is the attempt to try and construct and weave a coherent narrative into Nietzsche's text. This next phase marks the distinction between the individual and the social. And Nietzsche doesn't explicitly say this. Well, he does, maybe in one or two notes here and there he'll say it. But it's this oppositional force between me and not so much my immortality, my immortal life anymore, not so much between me and the highest moral values, not so much between me and God as a figurehead, but between me and them. Me as an individual and them as a crowd. And we're going to get significantly deeper into this discussion. And this bit I used quite a lot in my dissertation. I think this ground is very, very fertile. So I'm going to try and do service to the lecture. The one caveat, and the reason why I say this, that this sort of marks a second phase in my analysis, is that you guys know me, you know I do get a philosophy, so I'm going to bring you down the rabbit hole gently. I'm not just going to push you into the hole. But gradually, if you look back, once this is done, wherever this is going, and you look back to this video, you're going to tell yourself, I didn't think I would be able to progress to this level of complexity, because it is going to get structurally extremely complicated, right? Which is not to deter my viewers. For those of you who are actually following me up until this point, we're 25 hours into the lecture. I'm halfway to my goal. My goal was to do 150 videos and 50 hours of lecture, and I'm well past 150 videos, and I'm over the hump for my 50-hour mark. So now it's really time to put on our thinking caps and really get into the crux of Nietzsche's Will to Power, to see what we can mine from this. So again, unfortunately there wasn't a response to the call for video contributions from the Christian community, which is fine. I do encourage Christians to, Christians might not be watching my videos, but I do encourage Christians to watch my videos, because you should know your enemy. Not that I'm your enemy, but I'm representing your enemy via Nietzsche. So with that, let's begin. Notes on page 42, and this is section 8.8 of the analysis. Alright, so this is Will to Power, obviously. And this is section 8.8. And it covers notes 241 through 252. Okay, and this is the continued influence of Christianity. Alright, so 5 points here. First point. Nietzsche is discomforted, right, by the continued prevalence of Christianity despite the progress in, quote, scientific education, criticism, and hermeneutics. Pretty basic. Nietzsche is discomforted, we know this, with the continued prevalence, relevance of and sort